Hello there. Welcome to Flex 5 Minutes, a new technology podcast where we're going to spend 5 minutes once per week discussing the new things and changes around the technology world. And something you might notice is this scene around me. I got my cat next to me, I got my laptop in front of me ready to go, but this is all AI generated. The only thing that's not is my voice. And we're going to dive into that today. Pretty cool, huh? Let's get into it. So I want to briefly talk about how I actually generated this scene. First of all, I took an image of myself from my wedding. Granted, this is a couple years old. And I said, transform this into a specific design style, but instead of the current scene, place the character at a podcast setup in front of a Mac laptop. And it one-shot this beautiful scene. Already great, okay? But there was a couple things missing. First of all, I didn't need the rose like I had here. There was also some things about my face that were a little bit different. For instance, I'm not wearing glasses here. It's, again, a little bit outdated photo. So I put this very, we're just not going to look at that image. It's not a great image of me, but it was in real time. Remove the flower and add glasses like these. And it got to me what I felt like was a much more realistic representation of me, a little bit wider of a face, a little bit more character-y as well. But there were a couple things that were now different, right? For the most part, the scene was a little bit duller. The background looked a little bit cleaner, but the microphone wasn't the same microphone style that I have. So I said, make the microphone look like, and then the microphone that I exactly have. I did great at this, right? There were still some things missing that I didn't like. It seemed too zoomed in. It seemed too just in your face. I needed a little bit different. And I also wanted to put my cat in here. So I put my cat. Here's a picture of him that I have. I said change the scene, more of a tech-savvy podcast setup, clean the background, add some desk ornaments, and add my sleeping cat in the desk. And it came up with the scene that you're seeing now. But there was obviously some things that were still missing. For instance, this cat was kind of like in front of you, and it really shouldn't be. And this desk that he was sitting on was kind of floating. It just didn't feel authentic or right. So I asked it to remove that. It came up with a different color scheme, which I wasn't super fond of, but I didn't want to go through the process of regenerating this. And that's how we got to where we're at now. The next thing that I did was head over to Hedra AI. And what Hedra does is it allows you to upload both an audio script and an image, prompt it with some sort of character, emotion, gesture, whatever, and pop out the videos that you are seeing now. And that is exactly what we get with this. And it does a really good job of it. There's obviously some artifacting and some weird things that shift in and out of focus, but it does an overall really good job of understanding the concept of what we're trying to do here. First of all, it understands the facial expressions, kind of the gestures with the hands at times. And what I even loved is I did no prompting for the cat, and the cat moves. My cat, who I just randomly put in utilizing AI, is actually moving. Even though it doesn't really make sense because he's sleeping in this scene, it's actually really cool. And what I want to experiment with in the future is if we can take this exact scene and change things about it. Maybe every episode we have a different uniform on. Maybe my tie color is different. Maybe I'm not even wearing a suit. Maybe I'm wearing some Hawaiian shirt. Maybe we take a vacation and this episode is we're in Hawaii. Right? My podcast setup is now on the beach, but it's still me. And I, like everybody knows it's me. Maybe my cat is sitting in a lounge chair next to me on the beach, sipping a pina colada, right? We're entering this phase of AI where there's so much you can do and it's so powerful. And I want to explore that. And that's not going to be all of this podcast, but it's cool, isn't it? I want to push the boundaries and see how far we can get. There's obviously some costs that go into this, and so I want to make sure we're trying to do this as cost effective as possible, but it's really cool what we can do. Next week, we'll talk about some more in-depth stuff, more tech-savvy things around the world. We'll talk about LinkedIn and why they've all of a sudden started adding these games that are very similar to like the New York Times style of games. They're really cool, actually. They're fun. They're unique. But what is the benefit? To the users, but also what is the benefit to LinkedIn to actually have these? What does it prove? What does it gain value? We'll talk about that next week. We'll see you guys then.